A month of protests are spurring changes in Salem. The Oregon legislature has passed a bill in special session designed to make it easier to uphold discipline against police officers. Welcome to KOIN 6 News at 11 o'clock. I'm Wayne Haverly. Governor Brown talked about this bill today, along with the types of reforms Oregonians will see in law enforcement. But the protests push on. KOIN 6's Jennifer Dowling. She is live right now at the Justice Center with details as we enter this 30th night of demonstrations, and things are tense once again down there. Jennifer?
They are, Wayne. We've been following this for a couple hours now, and there was about 100 or so protesters that were at the Justice Center, and more soon followed, trickled in, and they were all gathered around some barricades that they had drug into the streets. Looked like some actual barricades they found at maybe a construction site or somewhere else, maybe around some of the police buildings here, and then they pulled them into the middle of Southwest 3rd. They were chanting and protesting behind those barriers, and then police began to announce maybe about 45 minutes ago that this was an unlawful assembly, and they were not following orders. They told people that they should disperse to the west. So people started to leave after we heard a couple flashbangs, maybe saw some gas canisters. We weren't sure if that was gas or smoke, though, so can't confirm that. And then police began to push people through the park towards Southwest 4th. Well, people kind of collected near Southwest 4th for a time, maybe about 15 to 20 minutes. Now they are moving back. Police fell back a little bit, and protesters moved back into the park here, right in front of the Justice Center and the federal courthouse building. So they remain kind of in that group there in the park, still chanting Black Lives Matter and other slogans. Police continue to monitor as there are cars all around with their bubble lights on, making announcements, and not sure what the next move is or if they'll engage the crowd again, but they have declared it an unlawful assembly and asked people to clear off of Southwest 3rd. And meantime, after 4 weeks of protests, it appears that state officials have been listening, and some changes, they say, are being made to state law. Take a listen. As Oregon lawmakers met in special session this week to consider a police reform package, protesters continued their demonstrations across the metro area.
We're out here to create awareness and be educating each other on the latest and what we need to know so that we can break this curse, this American curse of white supremacy.
Senator Lou Frederick says Friday the bill dealing with police discipline and arbitration was put forward on the House floor and passed, then was put forward on the Senate floor and passed unanimously. The bill makes it easier to uphold discipline against officers by lessening the power of arbitrators.
People were sure that people could get away with things if they just got to an arbitration, because arbitrators were always reversing what was going on. So that's a change.
Governor Brown expects more changes Saturday morning.
Limiting the use of chokeholds and tear gas, setting up a statewide database for police disciplinary cases, and preventing an arbitrator from overturning the discipline of a police officer.
Frederick says that's just the beginning. He says he'd like to move away from the militarization of police. Meantime, Duchess explained how everyone can do their part even if they can't attend ongoing protests.
I say if you can't get here, use your circuits and your avenues to amplify Black voices and brown voices and voices of color and trans voices, that type of thing. We're not saying denounce your white, denounce your culture and your heritage. We're asking that you amplify these voices.
So lawmakers say we can expect more changes at the state level. Meantime, back here at the Justice Center, there are some vans out there, and we've seen officers or city folks cleaning the streets out of those barricades that were placed there by protesters earlier in the night, bags, fences, and other items. They're asking people not to interfere with the clearing of Southwest 3rd. And we see a lot of police cars driving around the Justice Center. It looks like the protesters are, for the most part, cleared out of the street, but they do remain in the park here. So we'll keep monitoring it. We have heard those less lethal rounds being fired. We're not exactly sure what they were, if they were rubber bullets or pepper balls or gas canisters, but we heard the pops that we usually hear when those less lethal rounds are being used by police. We'll continue to keep an eye on it because the crowds are persisting despite the orders and despite the use of that less lethal munitions. Wayne, we'll bring you any updates from out here. Back to you in the studio.